And let me double check that it is live on YouTube. It is.
Yay.
Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the September Stitch and Bitch. We skipped a month in August since we were all very busy with things like moving and international travel and WorldCon and stuff like that. But we are back, and things are a little bit different with Stitch and Bitch now. As you can tell, Kelsey has joined us on a permanent basis. Bree is still with us, but she pops in and out as she can. She is very busy this weekend with important stuff. So yeah, let's go around and quickly introduce ourselves. And if anybody's working on something, let's show that as well. I'll go first really quickly. I'm Rachel. This is my channel Colonati, where I endeavor to talk about what I'm reading on a regular basis. It's been a bit spotty recently. And I am starting on a new shawl project, which is very little to show, but it will eventually be chevrons. So maybe by the end of this live show, there will be another couple of inches on this. So,
Yay.
All right, Kelsey.
Hi, I'm Kelsey. My channel is The Fancy Hat Lady Reads on YouTube. I am also at The Fancy Hat Lady Reads on TikTok. I am trying with the TikTok. My uploads have been sporadic on YouTube of late. I don't know when I will get back to posting regularly on YouTube. I'm about to leave town again for a while. I was out of town for WorldCon. But I am still posting on TikTok, just like not big videos. So that's where I am. I'm also on Twitter at The Fancy Hat Lady. And that's me.
Cool. Di?
Sure. My name's Diana. My channel is Bookish Di. I've also been posting sporadically on YouTube, and I am currently working on the cowl that I've been working on for the last few months. I'm in the final part. It's twisted rib stitching in the round, so kind of boring, but I'm almost to the end. Maybe I'll finish it on this stream.
I meant to ask you, did you finish the shawl that you were working on?
I didn't, but let me grab it because I did get some more done on it. So give me just a minute. I will be right back.
Okay. I wanted to see that again.
I almost forgot. I do have a craft that I can start here. I'm not sure what I'm doing with it. I have pulled out all of my beading supplies from my closet, and it turns out I have like twice as much of them as I remembered.
Whoa. So what kind of beading do you do? Is it like the beading?
I do some like really, really basic wire wrapping. Like I don't know any complicated things to do. I make a little chain of wires, and I put beads on every link. And yes, so what is this?
So this is the shawl that I was working on at WorldCon. So I'm getting close. It's like very long.
It's kind of like a scarf. Is that how you're going to wear it?
It's like a shawl scarf thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it'll look really great when it's blocked out.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I told you guys, but I had to frog like a chunk of it while I was at WorldCon because something happened where the edge like didn't hook properly, and I was like, why is this looking weird? And I like pulled on it and it started unraveling.
Oh.
And so I had to frog a decent chunk of it, but I've since made it back.
Cool.
All
right, Reija?
Speaking of frogging,
ribbit.
Yep. So yes, I'm Reija, and I host the Bookfins channel, where I sporadically upload videos whenever I am not lazy and actually film stuff, which lately has been more often than not. I have lately succumbed to the lure of Netflix and prioritized watching K-dramas. than
Nothing
filming.
wrong
But when I film, I do post videos on my channel, and I run a book club, etc. And currently, I am actually doing mending. So I am going over all of the like tears in this heirloom quilt that I have, and doing embroidery on them to mend them.
Very cool. Is that that's a new project?
Yeah, I mean, I've had this quilt for a while, but it's like
Mhm.
and I've known that I've needed to fix it. But I've just been procrastinating,
Sorry.
so I thought that now would be a good time to do it, because it's like all of my knitting projects and crochet projects are basically in that annoying state where it's just a lot of repetition, and I just wanted to start, something new that is more like changing.
Mm-hmm. I'll have to say, I like the repetitious, like brain dead things to do during the live shows, because I'm in this terrible habit of like all the projects I start require paying a lot of attention to like charts and instructions.
Yeah, I mean, usually I'm like that too, but today was somehow I was like, I looked at all of the projects that I have, and saying that all of the projects, like the whole 3 projects that I have on needles right now, and I was like, I'm not feeling any of these right now. Do I have to?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Do any of you wear bracelets? Because they are the easiest thing to make, but I don't know that I have anyone to make one for right now.
I do.
Okay.
That's an interesting question, because I love bracelets, especially beaded bracelets. That's like my favorite thing. But I don't regularly wear them. Like I've got an entire collection. I should do that.
I basically like I love bracelets and necklaces. Like I basically like every single item of jewelry that is not super restrictive. I love like I love like super like hanging necklaces, all those kinds of like bib necklaces,
Mm-hmm.
bracelets. But then rings, for some reason I can't like with rings. Which is interesting, because I've actually been looking into like there are these specific rings that are made for people who suffer from joint pain and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been like looking into like getting fitted for those and stuff, because I have like worsening arthritis and stuff. So, but I also have like some weird mental block that rings like feel very restrictive and stuff.
Do they look like regular rings, or do they look like
they're kind of like braces?
Like what Winx wears? Yeah.
Yeah, like they're like these splints kind of, but they're metal. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Although I will say, so my mom went through a brief beaded jewelry making phase some years ago, and she made me a couple of super simple like drop earrings, and I wear them all the time. They're like, yeah, you know me, I love big fancy earrings, but those are the ones like I reach for, like, oh, I gotta put some earrings in before I go to work. And yeah, I really like those. I
think that's really cool that your mom made those for you. Like, because
my mom has probably dabbled in any craft you can possibly think of. She's done it for at least a couple of months, made something amazing, and then moved on to something else.
Like my mom was a little bit like that too.
Yeah, she's going through a sashiko embroidery phase right now, and it's gorgeous. She's working on one of those like really big samplers that you do like these kind of asymmetrical sections and different stitch patterns. And every time I go over, she shows me her new section, and we like ooh and ah over it, because sashiko looks so cool. It's very symmetric, and I love that.
My mom just does basic knitting, but her basic knitting is like, she knits all the time, and she's a speed monster. Like, it's like an episode of Bold and the Beautiful, which is like 25 minutes without the commercial, with the commercial breaks tossed in, knits her a full sock from start to finish.
Oh, I wish I had that speed.
it's insane. And then when she has tried to like teach me, like, and she does full like color work at the same time. Like she will switch colors and do cabling and stuff, and that half an hour and there's a sock that fits an adult person.
I don't know.
I mean,
I'm
I know.
pretty fast, but I'm not that fast.
I mean, for sure she's like 70 years old and has like 60 years of experience, but still it's like
That's
kind
wild.
of like it's just mind-boggling. I just look at her like, how do you do?
Yep.
Yeah, don't eat my yarn.
People in the chat. So hello, Joe. Andrea, I knew you were coming. You're not lurking today.
Are you disappointed now that Kelsey showed up with a tiara and not a hat?
No, she said that tiara
I
was
asked-
acceptable in the chat.
Yeah.
I asked permission in the chat.
It is hat-like enough.
I
I
bought
feel
it,
like we had already decided though at WorldCon that Kelsey was going to be wearing the tiara on her first Stitch and Bitch. Like I feel like that
We
was
talked about
something
it.
we talked about.
We
Yeah.
talked about it, yes.
Fantastic.
Also, Mr. Rorasori is here. I've never said your username out loud, so I hope that's what it is. And Becca and Glenn. So hello, everybody. All right. Do we want to talk about what we're currently reading, and maybe if you've finished anything recently you want to talk about as well? I can start, or somebody else can start.
You start. I might go into a gushing mode soon. So.
Okay, well, I'm going to do the same because I finished A Taste of Gold and Iron by Alexander Rowland yesterday. I read 50% of this book in a single day, guys.
Nice. What did you think? I'm thinking of starting it like.
I loved it. It's one of
soon.
the few books this year that I've given a 5-star rating to, and that's
Nice.
like it's one of those books where the description of it and like what I was led to believe about the book was exactly what it turned out to be. It's like this slow burn, low angst bodyguard romance. And I loved the world building. I don't know if any of her other books are set in this world, but it's
They
like
all are. They're all set in different parts of the same world.
okay, so this one was
So
very
it-
like Ottoman Empire feeling, especially with the names and stuff. So I loved it. I loved the world. I just loved the flavor of it, and I really enjoyed the characters, and the romance was great. So, oh yes. Oh, Glenn says it's his next book. So, yay.
I definitely want to like. I'm sort of thinking of like doing it as my commute read, but first I'm gonna commute read Siren Queen. But Siren Queen is like pretty short, so I think
That's a
it's a good.
fast read.
After that, it's gonna be a good transition for like a.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Joe says that he is reading Heliconia.
What is that?
At one point we discussed buddy reading this, Joe. Do you think we should have done that? If it's that hard going, I don't know. I have not been that impressed by things I've read by Brian Aldiss, which is why I've put off Heliconia. But it is SF Masterworks, so
I mean, you
Good
might
on
as well.
Yeah.
For completion's
Like
sake.
reward yourself with something afterwards.
yeah, definitely. So, and I am still currently reading, what is it called? A Half-Built Garden by Ruthanna Emrys.
Oh, I want to
I've
read
had
that.
NetGalley arc for a while. I'm about 40% of the way through it, and I'm really enjoying this book. But it's one of those things that I super enjoy it when I pick it up and I read a chapter or two. But I've never sat down and read like a big chunk of it all at once. And I don't know, maybe it's because I just approached it as my travel book around WorldCon. And I've been reading it on my phone, and that just takes me forever. I should not do that. But it's a really interesting first contact science fiction novel. I think
I'm sorry.
Emrys was the author on the Hope Punk panel at WorldCon who described her book as diaper punk. And
Yes.
if you read this book, you absolutely know why. Like, there are multiple infants in the story for a reason. There are a lot of descriptions of breastfeeding.
I mean, I actually really like I've wanted to read that book ever since I like heard about it. But seeing her on the panel at WorldCon actually kind of like, I want to read more. Like, I want to read the books that this person writes because they seem like a hoot.
Yeah, yeah.
I can go next. I just finished Babel by R.F. Kuang, and it was very, very good. Like, it's definitely one where I think it lives up to the hype. Like it wasn't. It was something where I had to parse it out just because it's a very rich text, and everything was very intentional in terms of like what was included. But I thought the world building and the commentary about colonialism and academia was really fascinating, especially as someone who works in academia.
Okay.
In a very different area than what she is. And it like there, you could tell that she, and this is something that she's talked about in like interviews and stuff, but like just her feelings on Oxford and the UK was very interesting. How it came through. So I really like that. I'm definitely nominating it for best novel. And then I've started reading Jade City because I'm trying to clear off some stuff on my shelves so I can decide if I want to keep it or if I want to get rid of stuff and hopefully clear off some space on my bookshelves.
I have never read anything in that series, and I kind of wonder if I should. I've heard it described as fantasy that actually has some like concepts that seem kind of sci-fi.
If you want to buddy read, I have the first 2 books, and because they are thick boys, I am scared to start them. But I would definitely like.
How big are these books?
Well, okay, they're not like 1,000-page tomes, but they're like
500-ish.
Yeah, they're 500-ish pages per book. So it's not like they're massively impossible.
I was paying attention to my beads and I missed it. What book?
Greenbone
Jade
Saga.
City by Fonda Lee.
Okay, I have the first one. So if there's a buddy read happening, count me in.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's plan for it. Not next month though, because I have so many things to read. Like I have the Aboriginal anthology from Australia for like Indigenous lit from Australia that I'm gonna read for Shorts and Sorcery next month, which I have to read because it's a book club thing. But also like I'm trying to actually get stuff like done for like new releases and stuff. So yeah, I have a more like robust nominating pool come the nomination period.
That's what I was trying to do last month with the new release-a-thon, is really focus on reading newer stuff. Like I read the new Silvia Morano Garcia, which I really liked. I wouldn't say it's my favorite of hers. Like I think that one is still Certain Dark Things. Just like that one kind of hit all my buttons. But I like Daughter of Dr. Moreau. In the Serpent's Wake by Rachel Hartman was fantastic. I'm definitely nominating that for the Lodestar. Which if you read Tess of the Road, like I really recommend In the Serpent's Wake. Like there's just so much good stuff there.
I am so excited to read that, and I pre-ordered it, and I haven't gotten around to reading like any releases from this year yet, except for like one.
You know what we need? We need like a new release-a-thon 1.5 for December. Like that cram time at the end of the year when everyone goes, we need to read some more new releases for the year. Like that's what we need. Because I got so much read for new release-a-thon in August. It was fantastic.
I will if Chris
not done a readathon in like years, but if that were happening in December, I would be tempted.
Yeah.
I mean, I will, if Kristen isn't here right now, I will let her know.
But if it were like just this low pressure, read a couple more, before the end of the year.
I mean, it could be like, it wouldn't even need to have like any other like challenges. Just read as much that you can.
Yeah.
I do like the bingo card aspect just because it's fun to try and figure out like what bits.
I mean, I'm also a huge bingo
If you
boarder.
wanted to do like a 1.5 version, you could reuse the bingo card from the previous iteration.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Anyway, just listen to me planning your readathon for you.
I mean, it's not my
I think that's a
readathon.
great
I
idea.
just co-hosted it.
Without the bingo card, I tried to make it work, and I was like, you know what? Realistically, I'm not reading a single new release in this month. It's not gonna.
Yeah.
I got my first scar has been embroidered.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's very pretty.
Now I just need to find the rest.
Reija, how do you feel about like a black and silver color scheme?
Nice.
Nice. Okay.
Yes. So I can go next with the reading so that I can get the gushing out of the way. First of all, I finished Given by Natsuki Kizu, and I have a feeling that I'm really gonna like this series. Like, this first one has like a ton of like setup, and it's kind of like you're still kind of trying to angle out who all these characters are, but it's basically all about like music and these people like having these relationships together, forming a band. And also it deals with like it's just really interesting and nice. I like reading stories where people are passionate about something, and this is like basically like, and you can see that the author is also like, you know, I'm gonna lovingly render this Gibson guitar and like all these Stratocasters, and like I'm gonna give you all my like info on music theory that I've been studying for this manga, and it's great. So I definitely want to continue collecting this. And also I like that this has a more like, you clearly see that there's a main couple, but you see all these other couples get set up kind of like in a traditional like romance series that you would read, where you have like the main couple in one book and then you follow the next couple in the next book. Like, this clearly has that vibe where it's gonna like at one point it's gonna veer off to follow all the like other couples. So that was one thing. And then that Delicious in Dungeon has gotten the volume 10 has released, and I caved. I could not wait for the library haul to come in, so I bought it. And now I have to do the same thing that I have done with Witch Hat Atelier, that I will have to start basically going back and buying the previous volumes, because I just couldn't. The library currently has like 12 people in line for this volume and only one copy, and I was like, I can't. And it's like, I'm seriously like going to try and nominate this for Hugo, like for best graphic trade, because this series is just like, this is probably one of the like better, like in terms of like seriously like good world building, this is one of the better series out there. Like, it starts off as a humorous gag manga about cooking monsters in a dungeon, but then it has like really interesting world building, so much so that I went and bought the world guide for Delicious in Dungeon that goes over all of the different like races and all of the like cultures and the world and how the dungeons work and like stuff and all the different like monsters, which like, yeah, this is like this and Witch Hat Atelier and Spy X Family are basically like my golden trio of like ongoing manga right now. Like, those three series just sustain me.
I have to say, like, I've read the first 6 volumes of Spy Family now, and I started volume 7 and I lost it back to the library. And I don't know, is it like, have I read too many of them in a row? Do I need to take a break?
I do think that sometimes taking a break is better. Like, it eases off.
Yeah.
Because I've had that happen with some series where they started becoming, especially because they're like serialized, and in terms of like Spy X Family, especially when it like goes more into like following the missions and it becomes more episodic, that's when you kind of start to have that reiteration of the basic like premise of the series, which happens because it's like, what is it, like a weekly or monthly serialization currently? So it's like sometimes probably better to take a break.
I did request Given and the new Witch Hat from my library, so we'll see if I get them in a couple of weeks.
Volume 10 of Witch Hat is coming out, I think, next month.
You know, my library was buying that series, but they haven't gotten volume 9, so I don't know if they're going to purchase it or what.
How dare your library suggest breaking off with that series?
It was really weird. Like I had to interlibrary loan the first 7 volumes of that. So I got in this habit of just interlibrary loaning it because my library wouldn't purchase it. And then when I went to get the next volume, literally the librarian emailed me back and was like, "You do know that this is in our catalog now?" And I'm like, "Well, it wasn't for 18 months." Why are you directly emailing me for? Like, you never do that.
Because they care. They care about you. But yeah, currently I'm reading, where is it? Here. I'm reading Silver in the Wood by Emily Tesh, and I also have the Drowned Country, which I'm planning on like moving on to next.
How are you liking it?
I like it. I mean, it's like, I don't know, it isn't like grabbing me in like, oh no, this is the best thing ever. Like, it's not that, but it's like I like the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I liked the first one more than the second one. The second one felt like it lost the plot a little.
See, everyone has said that, which made me a little nervous to read the second one, so I never did.
I liked it. It was just a different kind of story, and it switches to a different POV character, like still a main character, but is in his head instead of the other character. And I liked it because like he had character development.
Luke, say hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, squishy face cat.
So cute.
He is very cute, and he knows it. It's how he gets away with stuff.
Kelsey, did you have any books to talk about?
So thank you for reminding me. I have, right now I'm in between books where I don't know what I'm picking up next, or if I'm going back to something I like started earlier and put aside. But the last thing that I finished was the 3rd book in the Stariel Quartet by A.J. Lancaster. These are fantasy of manners with fae romance.
Mm-hmm.
And the 3rd book is The Court of Mortals. Anyways, I am enjoying this series a lot for its sort of fluffy, fun escapism. And I really like the main characters. So I've been enjoying that immensely, but I don't plan on going straight on to book 4 because I don't like to go straight into books in a series in a row. They like bleed together that way, and I like putting some space between them. So I'm about to leave town because I'm going to Seattle to visit my dad. And I don't know what I'm bringing with me. Like, I'm probably bringing my Kindle, but I'm not sure there's anything on it I immediately want to read, except that I still want to read She Who Became the Sun. And I didn't get to that for the Hugo reading. But then other than that, like, I don't know, am I packing tiny novellas because I'm flying carry-on? What am I doing? What am I reading? I have things out from the library that I would really like to read. Like I have Bitter by Kweke Emezi out from the library. And
I really like that.
I really want to read it, but also like I'm not sure I want to pack library hardcovers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be me and my Kindle and some new release novellas. I have Uncommon Charm, and I have 2 of Alexandra Rowland's novellas that came out earlier this year that were self-published. So I think I might just pack those and my Kindle and then like wing it and see what happens.
I'm really curious about Uncommon Charm. That's one that I really want to get to eventually.
Yeah, same. That's Neon Hemlock.
I really liked it.
Okay.
That one's Neon Hemlock, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I think it is one of the stronger novellas that I have read recently. Like, it's very rough around the edges, but I feel like there's a common theme with the Neon Hemlock press work that I have read so far, is that they are very much like experimental and take risks.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I feel like some of the like more like I mean, I don't want to say that Tor novellas are very manufactured, but once you have started to like pick up on what Tor.com as a publishing imprint kind of keys in on, what they like to buy and like what they want to like publish, the novellas start to kind of feel like they follow a sort of sameness or a formula.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I feel like Neon Hemlock mainly just lets the authors do whatever. Or am I crazy? Am I making sense? Like, I just feel like...
No, that makes sense to me. I mean, I can often look at a Tor.com novella and I go, based on this cover and that it's this genre, I bet I know what that might be.
Yeah, I feel like that's part of what's been so frustrating with me with the novella category recently, is there's like, because it's been dominated by Tor.com, like, while I do like some of the novellas that Tor's been putting out, I feel like it's stifling the category.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for sure. I mean, personally, I do feel like there is a pressing need for some new blood in that category.
Yeah, I know Rebecca Rowanhorse has a novella coming out with Saga, which I can see getting nominated. But I don't know. Maybe I'll try and read Uncommon Charm and like get that nominated, get it on my nomination list.
I mean, I really enjoyed it. If you like sort of very unapologetically queer, like 1920s jazz age,
Yes,
sort of fantasy of manners, basically, with ghosts.
Mm.
There's a kind of like a family mystery, and there's also alchemy.
Okay.
So, and there's no romance. There's a lot of like queer characters who are on the page queer, and they talk about like past romances and stuff, or like who they have the hots for currently, but there's no like active like romance in it.
Perfection. It's going in my suitcase.
I might nominate The Bruising of Kayla, even though it wasn't my favorite. I think it like approaches it has some very interesting topics, and again, just kind of getting a non-Tor.com thing on the ballot.
I'm actually thinking like, how do you usually like if you're talking about like when we're talking about like nominations and like awards and stuff, like what's your like, everyone has such different like approaches on like how they nominate, because I look at like what I've read and what I think has been good, but also in terms of like what I think is sort of pushing the boundary and pushing the envelope a little bit in terms of like when I look at like what kind of books I nominate for a specific category.
So that is kind of how I think when I vote on the final ballot. I find that I'm less discriminating when I nominate, just because in most categories I find I haven't read that many things I actually loved. So I end up putting, a lot of things that may have been like comfort reads or like relative, things that aren't that.
Yeah, I'll say
particularly
too.
on my nominating ballot, but I also feel like the types of books that I love and find comfort and excitement in aren't the types of books that tend to end up on the nominating ballot anyway.
Same.
On the short list. So I feel like I don't feel like I'm contributing to the wrong things ending up on the ballot.
Yeah, I'll say for things like best series, I tend to not spite nominate, but like kind of fuck you nominate, like things that I know the Hugo probably wouldn't nominate, just like, oh my god, there's kissing. So like Sarah Kuhn's Heroine Complex series, the new book just came out, which I need to read, but I will probably nominate the series again because it just ended, and it's like very much not like what, I don't know. I'll probably nominate that. Probably nominate The Mercenary Librarians because, again, it's like it's explicitly a science fiction romance, and I'm just like, you know what? The Hugos could use more kissing books.
I mean, I've had some really interesting discussions relating to like the Hugo nominations and awards in general recently. Just because like in terms of like different categories and stuff, people have such varying opinions on what should be nominated and what should be eligible in the first place, which I always find a little bit fascinating. I just feel like if there was more like discourse in the like online bookish spaces about these various conventions and awards, like there could be some like I just feel like WorldCon as a whole, like the reason why it sometimes can feel a bit stale is that it's very insular, and there isn't like unless it moves into like I'm actually expecting a huge surge of like new like people engaging with WorldCon next year and in Glasgow, because it's in a, first of all, there's a younger organizing team, it's in a new area. So like similar with what happened in 2017 in Helsinki, like you had all these new people like suddenly interested and stuff. So I'm expecting that that's going to happen in the like following 2 years at least.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
I will legit be like even more furious than I was this year if Naomi fucking Novik is on the Lodestar ballot again next year.
Oh god,
she's gonna be.
Are we going to talk about this on?
Oh yes, we should talk about it. Naomi
talk
Novik,
about how angry I am.
Naomi
I was like,
Novik,
no.
Basically lied with her whole chest when she said that she loves and respects YA. Because if she did, she would have been very clear about the fact that her book is not YA, that it should not have been nominated, and it very much reads like she wanted the award so badly that she let herself be on the ballot and wrote her name recognition to winning the Lodestar.
But here's the thing, people have been defending her, saying that, well, it's marketed as adult in the United States, but in the UK it's marketed as young adult, so therefore it counts. No, it isn't actually, but like the publisher.
Who's the publisher in the UK?
I'm not sure which publisher was it.
I'm checking right now.
But that's people's arguments. Like that's what people have been arguing for, is that
because
like
there are books that are published in different age categories in different countries when they get published there. I wasn't aware of that being one of them.
Like prior to this argumentation, neither was I, and it doesn't really matter anyway. Like most of the marketing for the book has been like, this is the adult Harry Potter, basically.
Yeah, I think it's still Del Rey.
Okay. Is there something different about Del Rey in the UK that I'm unaware of?
No, it's just people are like defending her just like for the sake of defending her. It's really annoying.
Yeah, it's really
I
annoying.
too
And
enjoy her other books. Like I've liked her as an author for a long time. So like
Yeah, me too. Like I still like Uprooted. I still like Spinning Silver. I like Temeraire. This doesn't change it, but it's just like I'm hugely side-eyeing.
well, I think
This was not was this the first book in the series?
no, second.
Okay,
Second,
so-
and the first one was also
first was
nominated in this
nominated
category.
last year, but it didn't win.
right.
Glad.
So I have a question actually, like not about this year, but about the first time it was nominated for the Lodestar. If this entire series seems to read like adult fantasy and it's been marketed as adult fantasy, who started nominating it for a YA award?
So here's the thing. It does have crossover like appeal. Like there's a reason why it was on the Alex Award long list, which is an award that's presented by the young adult section of ALA that's specifically for adult books that appeal to teens. Every Hearted Doorway was I think it was an Alex Award winner. One of Naomi Novik's other books won an Alex Award. So like it's a book that definitely can appeal to teens, but I think it's because it's a school.
Yeah.
It's at a school that's what pinged it. And what's really frustrating for me is you have authors like R.F. Huang who are like, you know, yes, my book is set in a school, and yes, I have a female protagonist. However, this is not YA, and you have so many, mostly
and also R.F. Huang got a lot of flack for that as well.
Yeah, and you have so many authors of color who are like, look, I love YA, but my book is not YA. And then you have Naomi Novik being like, oh yeah, sure, my book is totally YA. And it's like, okay, but it's not. And I was really hoping that if the Hugo Awards were going to be rewarding one of their favorite authors, that they would go with Charlie Jane Anders, because, you know, she actually did write and publish YA with her book. Like that is an actual YA book. So I'm really disappointed in the Hugo voters, but I'm more disappointed in Naomi Novik. And I also think it's very telling that no YA authors like were like, oh my God, congratulations. Like one of the nominees, I'm not going to say who, but like was replying to someone and is like, yeah, the Hugo voters are confused.
Yeah.
I mean, I would also say that considering that when you look at the long list for this year, one of Seanan McGuire's books was disqualified for not being like the proper type for the category. So I was actually expecting that it would have been disqualified for not fitting the category.
Disqualified
it was disqualified from a nomination because it wasn't released in the correct year.
Okay.
That was the disqualifying
Ghost
metric.
Yeah, Ghost Spider. Yeah, I don't know, it's just really frustrating, and I've lost a lot of respect for Naomi Novik, and I'm worried that if she like does what she's done in the past and let herself be on the ballot, like she's going to win next year, even though there's been really great speculative fiction, YA fiction being published, because she has the name recognition.
Yeah.
And like people will vote for who That's
the thing. I feel like this was a win that she got based on name recognition.
Oh, it's totally name recognition. Like I will say,
it's not about people having read the books and thought about what the best YA novel is, because
also Becca says that didn't Novik push back on it going in a YA book box originally? Yes, she did.
Oh wow.
I did not know that. That makes
the very first book, and she actually, I think, well, it was, the first book was in a couple of different book boxes, but most famously, I think it was in an Owl Crate, which is a YA subscription book box, and when it was in that, she didn't really like push back, but she made, if I remember correctly, a clarifying tweet saying that this is actually like an adult book, so just know what you're getting into. So, you know.
That's really frustrating. So yeah, I'm like, Yeah, and I see Andrea's like people in the Hugo room actually, but yeah, like Kelsey and I were sitting next to each other, and we were just like,
I heard
I was basically like, I was
Yeah.
sitting next to Rachel, and I was like, no, like just.
yeah. That's pretty rare, actually. Usually, when things win, you don't hear stuff like that in the room. So it was noticeable.
Yeah. People were not happy. I was not happy.
yeah, and it's so frustrating too because I was also really annoyed with the best fanzine with and I say this as someone who very much enjoys Shauna McGuire's work, but I'm really frustrated that she and Lee Moyer won for fanzine because I feel like fanzine should be something that's like pushing conversations in the community. I don't know.
I mean, fanzine can be a lot of things, but I just like, I mean, this has been like an ongoing like trend recently. Like, what is the line between a professional and a fan, and like these kinds of different projects. It's just like, I don't necessarily agree with like if you made a certain income or something that it excludes you from being like a fan, but I would say that the sort of like power dynamics of like, do you have a large platform, or like do you have industry connections and stuff like that, are at least something that people should be mindful of when they accept nominations.
So
Yeah.
about the fan categories, because I've been thinking about this a little. I think it's less of like a rules question and more of an etiquette question of like,
Yeah.
are you campaigning for this thing, and if so, like why?
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you campaigning for a nomination? Are you, you know, going to turn down a nomination if you've won before, like won a certain number of years in a row? I feel like it's an etiquette question more than a rules question.
I mean, people keep like every time this comes up, people keep bringing up the precedent that there was that one guy who was nominated for like fan writer for 19 years until John Scalzi broke the streak, and I'm like, yeah, why are we like, okay, like why are we constantly bringing up this one guy who didn't have the like courtesy to like recuse from being nominated and after winning like the first couple of times, instead of like actually talking about the issue at hand? Like, it's like we cannot talk about these things because there was this one guy. Like, so annoying.
Well, and I also feel like it really leads to kind of stagnation. Like if we're like looking at semi-prosine, for example, like the fact that Uncanny, and I'm not saying that Uncanny is not doing good work, but I think at a certain point they should recuse themselves because they keep winning, and their continued nomination is making it so that newer scenes aren't, or new semi-pro scenes aren't being on the ballot. Like Mermaids Monthly, I think just missed the cutoff.
It needed 4 more nominations.
Yeah, but like I think that could have been a huge boost to them had they been, you know, been on the short list instead of like barely missing the cut.
Didn't Mermaids Monthly actually like stop the like they're not going to do like further publications? Is that what I like? Isn't this gonna be like either the last year, or was last year the last year they were gonna do? Like, I remember seeing something that they were having like some issues.
No, I think that's a different one. They just announced that they're doing an Indiegogo.
Okay. Reija, actually, yes. I should put this in the chat for you, Reija, and not take up people's time if it continues.
Oy vey. Well, I mean, one thing that really bothers me about it is like, I like the reason Uncanny Magazine specifically has given out for not recusing themselves after winning is because they are running a new staff every single year. So they're like, well, if we recuse ourselves from our nomination, then the new staff won't ever like get the opportunity to be like valued or appreciated in the like awards or whatever. And I'm still like, that's a really shitty excuse because they're not handing out 19 trophies for all of the people who are working on your semi-pro zine. That's not happening.
What about all the amazing people who work at the other semi-pro zines?
Yeah.
And also, how like you still get to call your magazine a Hugo winning magazine, a Hugo nominated magazine, no matter like it's just I just find it in bad taste.
Yeah. I can't remember who it was, but someone, I think maybe in our group, maybe somewhere else, felt like this year's Hugos definitely felt like a reaction against last year.
In what way?
Yeah.
Like with, Uncanny winning again over Faya, the fact that it was like A Desolation Called Peace won Best Novel. Like it was, a previous winner winning for book 2 in a series. The fact that it was like what was going on with the fan categories as well. Our opinions are correct. Back on the ballot, they won again. Shauna McGuire not only winning Best Fanzine, but also Best Series, just like kind of returning more to the status quo than potentially.
Yeah.
I wonder though if I feel almost, and this is just me feeling vibes, so don't, I know nothing, I have no info. My vibe has been that this year was just like a sort of tired year where we were all drained from pandemic and, maybe not keeping abreast of new things as much. And so some of the nominees and winners sort of just represented a default of people nominating and voting for the things they already knew because we've been too tired to be adventurous.
I mean, sure,
absolutely the vibe I got. Yeah.
I mean, sure, but also like DisCon was also in the middle of a pandemic, and last year's awards felt like much more fresh. In many ways, not all the ways. But I think that what really like got this whole fan versus pro discussion was the like what four out of the how many fan categories got won by like an industry person.
Yeah.
A lot of them probably.
Actually,
yeah, four out of like how many fan categories are there? Fan artist, fanzine.
I think fan writer like Cora won, if I'm remembering. I think fan writer was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fan writer went for Cora.
Yeah, fan writer was the one where like that one I was okay with. Like I think Cora's been doing a lot of work, and it was nice to see.
For a long time.
Yeah, so that was one that I think that was like the one fan category where I was just like, okay, yeah, that was good.
Fancast seems to me to be the one fan category that doesn't really have a criteria about it's about the product that people are making and not the status of the people as fans or professionals. Like fan artists, for example, you are simply not eligible for that category if you are being like paid professionally for your work. Fan writer is the same thing. And I'm kind of
didn't they want to change that for Fancast though?
Fancast?
So there
was the oh sorry, Di, go on.
So there was the Hugo in the business meeting. There were a couple of amendments dealing with the fan versus pro, and the problem was that the way they were worded was not great. So basically anyone who like had things behind a paywall, so like or like got some money. So like Jason Sanford, for example, with his Patreon. So like he does a really good work. He does really great work of, you know, compiling news and what's going on in the SFF community, but he would not be considered a fan writer because he uses Patreon under what was proposed. And it was a lot of the stuff that came out of the Hugo Awards Study Committee was stuff that should have been left in drafts. But basically, the way they interpreted their mandate was they had to bring forth like full-fledged amendments to the business meeting for there to be discussion on it. So, and that they realized that they didn't have like anything, and so they like rushed to put stuff out.
Even if it didn't really make sense.
Exactly. So like you had some stuff where there was some thought into it, like Era's best game / interactive work, Hugo. There was the modification to like when do awards stop being viable, that had some good thought put into it, but a lot of them, like the change to fan artist versus pro artist and the fan versus pro category changes, were just not well thought through, and would have caused a lot of problems moving forward.
About Era's game, Hugo, is it now like, is it gonna be a viable category going forward, or does Chengdu still need to ratify it next year?
Chengdu needs to ratify it,
Okay.
but they're pretty sure that it will be fine. Like it passed overwhelmingly.
I mean, Chengdu also has a very like young organizing committee, and most likely like people like. I have a feeling that it's not gonna be any problem getting it ratified in Chengdu.
Yeah, Era's been in touch with some folks who are going to be at the WorldCon to deal with that at the business meeting. So, but yeah, it was. Yeah, the fan versus pro stuff is a mess. And the problem is that I don't think there's like a good way to untangle it.
I mean, I think for this kind of issue, the Hugo Awards has traditionally relied on the nominating and voting base to kind of steer where they want the categories to go. And Fancast is such an interesting one because from its inception, it's been podcasts created by professionals.
Yeah, like the first two were SF Squeakcast, which had a bunch of professionals. Sorry, I'm looking at the list of winners. Yeah, like Ditch Diggers, Our Opinions Are Correct, Cood Street. Yeah, and like this year, it was a lot of industry insiders.
I'm just thinking, like, should it just be like separated then into professional and Fancast then? But then, like,
here's the
who
thing.
am I to know?
How do you determine that? I mean, like, if you
Mm.
have one person on your podcast who's a published writer and then the other people aren't, if you have like, if you're all fans and then 3 of you publish books, like where do you draw it? It's not worth trying to draw the line. It's obviously a fan work as opposed to.
I mean, maybe it's just like for me at least, it all comes down to like the whole power dynamic, like who, like what like basically like I don't want to call like amateurs, but basically like what like non-professional have access to versus like industry professionals.
This is why I'd like to see, you know, past winners recused so that we could get more interesting, not more interesting things, but like a more interesting variety of things on the ballot, because we're getting like the same type of podcast over and over and over. I would like to see different types of things on the ballot. Reija, how does this look?
Pretty.
Does it?
Why?
Because it's for you. I thought I made that clear. Your Christmas present.
I suddenly feel anxious about public shows of affection. I'm not. This is not something I'm used to.
I feel like there is another option with like the fan cast category is, can you just call it something else?
Yeah.
It's never really been an amateur fan type of category. And I think some people really want it to be because of the name.
Yeah.
And stuff, and yet what if it's never corrected to that? What if it just continues to be like this? Just call it what it is then. It's
I feel like
broadcast.
Yeah, I feel like the way it is currently named makes people automatically associate it with just podcast, even though it could be anything, any basically audiovisual production.
Well, and I think maybe that should be the name, like Best Audiovisual Production.
Best Fan Audiovisual Production?
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? I mean, I understand that Best Fan Audiovisual Production is a mouthful.
Well,
but also,
I would say, like, you get into the like wood serialized podcasts. So like something like the Magnus Chronicles or the Magnus Archives be counted under that.
Yeah.
You have to find a way of differentiating it from dramatic presentation category.
Yeah, would it be like commentary then?
Yeah.
Like basically like make it about like.
But then you have to ask, how do you differentiate it from things that make it into best related work, which are often commentary, just in a different format?
It has to be a repeated episodic thing.
Yeah,
right.
That's true. The episode
on video is eligible in related work. A YouTube channel is eligible in fan cast because it's a body of work.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like, if you do a YouTube web series that's like your own little superhero web series, right?
But does that count if it's not commentary?
Is that a fan cast or is that a dramatic presentation?
I would count that as a drama. I mean, I would count that as best related work, I guess. If it's like, well, but then again,
if you're like a fan caliber dramatic presentation as opposed to
this is hard. I have a feeling we're not gonna fix the Hugos by ourselves.
You know, and I also I wouldn't wish the business meeting on anyone I like.
I sat in on a little bit of a business meeting just to see what it was like, and
Did you have a good time?
Yikes.
It's definitely something where I understand, like, if we're looking at the business meeting as kind of like the heart of the Hugos, like it explains so much about like the types of programming and the attendees, because it is very old. Like the people who are there, like I was one of the youngest people in the room, and I'm not like super young.
But WSFS doesn't. How much does WSFS actually handle the nominating voting process, implementing it rather than making the rules? Also, they don't do programming.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking more of like who is coming to the convention. It's more of like, the way I think of it is it needs to figure out, like WorldCon needs to figure out like what it's for. Like, is it there to be the business meeting? Is it there to host the business meeting in a way that's so inaccessible and takes up so much time and is basically just a forum for people to hear themselves talk for hours on end and be like, point of personal information or point of order? And
I've never been. But from what I've seen of just a little like clips of like recordings and stuff, I imagine that walking into the room is kind of like a bunch of graybeards trying to rules lawyer each other, and you're like,
Yes.
turn around and walk out. Like, I don't have time for that. Like, genuinely, I feel like it's a full-time job just trying to keep up with how WSFS is run and how the business meetings work. Like, you would go to WorldCon and you'd spend your entire days just dealing with the business meeting.
That's basically what I did. Like, my entire morning from 10 to 1 for 3 days was in the business meeting because I was waiting for Ira's proposal, and I didn't because
you have to do business meeting instead of the convention. You have to do business meeting instead of anything fun, and it's tedious, and you have to like care. And
is it an actual requirement that the business meetings must happen in person at WorldCon?
I don't know.
I think so, because like currently there has been a little bit of a push towards like making it virtual and allowing people to have like allowing attending virtual members to also have voting access, or like making it so. And also there has been like issues about like making the whole agenda like publicly viewable electronically, which is also what people have been like, back in my day we can't allow this.
They will never get new blood if they don't change up how they do the business meetings.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
And you also, this happened, I think, the first day of the business meeting. So they were, streaming it so people could either watch live or watch later. And there was discussion about the Hugo Awards Study Committee, and Kate Seeker moved to turn the cameras off, and that like ate the rest of the time to discuss it. But like then it gets into, okay, well, if we're in then why are we pretending to let people stream if people can just move to turn off the cameras and make it inaccessible?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That along with Nicholas White basically saying like this committee is useless, I moved to dismantle it, like killed the committee.
Wait, when did that happen?
That happened Friday.
Wait,
like the first day.
So from what I gather, the Hugo Awards Study Committee was initially convened to like kind of do what we were talking about, like look at the current categories and provide suggestions for updating it or clarifying it. And from what I gather, just like from talking to certain people and like from what I was hearing, they didn't do a good job of it. And part of the reason we saw a rush of bad amendment proposals coming out of them this past year was because they're like, oh shit, our mandated time is almost up. We don't really have anything to show for it. Let's just put everything out there. And apparently it was very contentious behind the scenes. I don't have any details on that. But like stuff happened. And so when they were discussing it on Friday, I guess the two co-chairs were worried that some of what was going on, like their dirty laundry would be aired, which is why Kate had moved to turn off the cameras, which then, just kind of drew attention to the fact it's like, well, what are you trying to hide? Oh boy.
Very true.
And then Nicholas White at the start of that section basically was like, it's barely done anything. It's really dysfunctional. It's not doing its job. We should just dismantle it. And like those combinations, I think, are what killed it. And like, yeah, it was a mess.
Oh my goodness.
I love behind the scenes drama.
We are past the 1 hour mark, so I suggest that as much as we could have an entire live show just dissecting our WorldCon experience and the Hugo Awards, maybe we should consider doing that at some point. We do the finalist live show when the shortlist comes out. Maybe we should do a proper recap of the experience. Something to think about for next year. But let's move on to the next thing on our usual agenda, which is what media have people been consuming? What have you been watching? I know Ray wants to talk. We'll let Reija go while I very quickly leave to go get food so that I can sustain myself through the remaining 45 minutes. So go, Reija. What have you been watching?
I've been watching K-drama. So much K-drama. So I basically watched this contemporary K-drama called Our Blues, which follows a bunch of like these different people working out through their lives in like the Jeju Island. And it's kind of like an omnibus narrative where you are following, like, in the course of 20 episodes, you are following like storylines of multiple people. And it was actually really good. Like, it's interesting because like it is currently trying to tackle because it was broadcast on like a mainstream big Korean network. So it's like, which is controlled by these like rich conglomerates and stuff, and which are obviously very conservative about their brand image and what gets put on national broadcast in Korea. So it's interesting to see how in many of the series that I'm following, they are trying to introduce content that is not always talked about a lot in Korea. For example, this show introduced, like, there was a character with Down syndrome, there was a character played by a deaf actress, etc., etc. It tried to tackle things like teen pregnancy, which it didn't handle in the most delicate way because it also had to like instill conservative family values still. But like it's interesting to see that they're trying to tackle these things that indie like shows and indie dramas and movies have dealt with for decades, but now it's like moving into the mainstream, which kind of shows like there's a clear want with the audiences for these things as well. And another thing I have been incredibly obsessed with is Hyena, which I am about halfway through now, and it is basically a drama about these really corrupt and asshole lawyers who also happen to kind of fall for each other, and there's like this romance that's brewing between them, and it's delicious. It like both of these lawyers are like despicable people, and they're like completely like in the know. Yes, we are corrupt. Yes, this whole system is broken, but also money. And it's just been such a fun time watching. Also, I love that there's an actual like the main female character actually has agency and actually is competent and doesn't have to be rescued by the man all the time, which is great. So I have been thoroughly enjoying that. Who wants to go next?
I can go next. So I haven't really been watching a whole lot, but what I was watching during WorldCon while I was staying at my friend's place is the Great Pottery Throwdown. It's on HBO Max, and it's by the same production company that does Great British Bake Off. And it is delightful. So it's a bunch of amateur potters, and they basically have their big project, which can be anything from like hand building a toilet to creating a dinner set to creating, porcelain chandeliers. And then they have their spot test, which is kind of like the technical challenge in Bake Off, where they're given a task and the judges leave, and then the judges will, discuss like who did it well. And then there's the Throwdown, where that's like their timed challenge. So it'll be like throw egg cups off the hump, which is basically like a big mass of clay that you just like consistently work and create things like a process. And it's very like, it's really interesting. Like I enjoy the fact that the drama mostly comes from like, will my thing survive the kiln? Like, how's my time going? And it's not like interpersonal drama. And then the other like media thing that I've been mostly two other things. Disney Dreamlight Valley, which is an early access. It's a life sim game, and it's basically like Stardew Valley or Animal Crossing, but Disney. And I'm very much enjoying it. It's very addicting. Unfortunately, Stitch is not included yet, so I can't hang out with my best bud. But like Wally's there. I just recruited Elsa to come live in my village. Scar from Lion King is coming soon. So it's fun. It is in early access now, and the full game will be coming, I think, next year. And then I also started listening to the podcast Scamfluencers, which is very interesting. It's basically about scammers and like things that happen. So like they had an episode about, you know, the guy who was like scamming manuscripts off authors.
I missed that.
Oh,
They had because they had an episode on
vaguely
that.
remember seeing
Yeah.
something about this controversy.
I
Yeah.
somehow remember it too, vaguely.
I missed this. Was it a Twitter thing?
No, it was like this Italian translator who was like doing foreign rights.
Oh, wow.
And he like would like try and scam manuscripts out of people, and like some of it was big names, but sometimes it was like smaller names, and he would like be really threatening if someone like called him out. It's like, I'm pretty sure this isn't like, I'm pretty sure you're lying about who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Huh.
Interesting.
So, before I talk about things I've been watching, can I ask Rachel what you think of these beads?
Ooh.
I was looking at these and I'm thinking these look like you.
Yes, they do.
Okay. So I'm gonna go with that color scheme. So I went to an actual movie theater, woohoo, recently to see 3,000 Years of Longing. And I've seen such like glowing reactions to it, and honestly, I'm a little on the fence. Has anyone else here seen it?
No,
I haven't heard of it.
No, I have not
about?
even heard about it.
It is an adaptation of the short story The Gin in the Nightingale's Eye by A.S. Byatt, which I haven't read.
I know the
And
author's name, so this must be one of those popular stories.
yeah, it's not recent. It's got Tilda Swinton and Idris Elba, and it should be the type of movie I would really love, because it's like a very, like, it's a slow-paced, non-action-y fantasy story that is, you know, about character development, and it's visually sumptuous and all that. And it didn't necessarily work on me, and I'm not sure why. But I was curious if anyone else here had seen it yet, because I am on the fence.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
Seen it. What did you think of the performances in it, though? Because those are some actors that I would watch the movie for those actors.
Yeah, I will watch anything Idris Elba is in.
Yeah.
They were okay. They didn't strike me as being like incredible performances, but that might also just have been the script being really understated.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how we feel about like what I think is an adaptation of a story by a white lady directed by a white guy about like Middle Eastern folklore.
Well,
I've seen like some,
if it's done with respect.
and the thing is, I don't know if I'm in a position to tell if it's done with respect. And I know I've seen some people who've really loved it and thought it was absolutely stunning in how it depicted that history, but I'm not in a position to judge. So that's one that I was kind of hoping someone else here. Has anyone in the chat seen it? I feel like I need to talk to someone
Nobody's
about it.
said anything, but
No one has said anything.
You're the only cultured person who goes to movie theaters. Is it like a limited release, or is it like an actually like
I'm saying it's so new that it's not
I-
streaming.
I
So
think it's a pretty broad release, but I think it bombed at the box office because they failed to advertise it.
wait a minute. Everything Everywhere All at Once is genre?
Oh yeah, it's a multiverse.
yeah, it
Oh,
was great.
okay.
It had been about
It's very crass.
I
It's
am
R.
out of touch.
It's very crass. It's like R-rated.
Oh, okay.
So there's a lot of
but
like
in a fun way.
in a fun way. It's not. It's like it pushes button. Let's just say I watched it while I was in a plane to Chicago, and it is not a movie that I would recommend people watch while other people who you don't know are directly adjacent and can
Wait, I
watch
thought-
your screen.
Okay,
I was
you
really
saw
uncomfortable.
theaters though, because like people were having a hoot in the theater.
Oh, okay. Well, it sounds like I should see that then. So
It was really nice. It had some really. I'm definitely gonna be actually nominating it for best long form presentation.
I will
next
have to
year.
look into that then, because I had no idea.
It was really nice. I will I will say, like the watching experience that I had with Everything Everywhere All at Once reminded me of my watching experience when I went to see the Handmaiden or The Handmaid, which is the Korean adaptation of Sarah Waters' The Fingersmith.
Oh.
And it isn't the content that made me uncomfortable. It was that me and my friend were the only people who were semi-youngish, and all of the rest of the people were these conservative old Finnish ladies who were audibly clutching their pearls
I
at
did
every.
not know what they were getting into.
They were not. They were imagining a sweet period piece with no controversy whatsoever, and it was not what they got.
Oh my goodness. Oh.
like the haram thing was relentless.
They stayed to the end though, right?
Yes. I mean, this is Finland. When you pay for something, you don't leave.
Oh my gosh. I actually did watch some media in the past month. I know this is shocking, and of course I am late, but I did see The Sandman. I binge watched Sandman before going to WorldCon. It was I have to watch something so I won't get anxious about flying thing. And so yeah, I watched all the episodes in 2 days, and I liked it. Now, I've read the comics, but I was never a huge fan of the Sandman comics. I liked the story, I liked the idea of it, but I really, really did not like the artwork.
Yes, I pretty much have the same experience.
I did not
Sandman.
like. I don't recall ever enjoying any of the artwork from any of the artists who worked on it, any of the illustrators. And I know this is going to be like sacrilege to the Sandman fans, but I don't enjoy Dave McKean's style of artwork, and of course his artwork is like the stamp on Sandman. So for me, I really enjoyed the adaptation because I like the visuals better, and the Dave McKean stuff is really just the credits, I think, to that.
And
so
Lucifer's jumpsuit. You can't even see.
We might disagree on this, Reija, because I really did not like Lucifer's clothing. I kept looking at them going, why is that so puffy? Is that wrinkled? Is it actually tailored correctly?
They're like.
I get that they were more like structural, architectural costumes than anybody else on the show.
Having not seen what the actual material is, my interpretation was that the material itself was something that does not iron well, and does not, like, because it looked to be like possibly synthetic taffeta and
Mhm.
similar like synthetic brocade.
That's my thought. Is when I looked at a lot of Lucifer's clothing, I thought the fabric looked like polyester. It just looked synthetic, and I thought that was weird. Except they do wear one outfit, which I think was like intentionally very plasticky black or
Yes.
something. Like that was definitely the effect they were going for that costume as a whole. So it was intentional.
If you're referring to the what they wear during the duel,
Yeah.
that's synthetic PVC.
And I think that was the one costume of Lucifer's that I actually liked, because it just seemed intentionally that thing. Anyway, the other, like, I really did enjoy the series. I know I'm griping about things, but I have to ask, did anybody else think that the like the hair and makeup bits in the flashback sequences were really not good? I'm mainly talking about Dream's hair in the flashback scenes for what's his face? The main movie.
Hope Gatling.
Yes, in the Hob episode.
Yeah.
Because
The wigs weren't the best.
Okay, so it's not just me. 'Cause I super enjoyed that episode, but I kept staring at Dream's wig going, oh, but why?
I mean, I still like, I pretty much like, it was like Sandman was my comfort show while I was moving.
Mhm.
Like the moment I got my internet connection working, I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch one episode a night. And then one episode a night turned into 2 episodes a night, and then afterwards I was like, okay, I can't do this non-binging thing. I will just binge it all. My favorite parts were like, I love like the person they got to play Desire.
Yes.
I was
Desire
so
very
happy.
well cast, and Death was very well cast.
Yes.
Yeah, Glenn said the Death episode made me so weepy. Same. That was one of my other favorite episodes. So
I've seen people complain a lot about the what it because because of rights issues and stuff, the show skirts around a lot of the extended DCU universe. So they're like things like John Dee being like, was it Dr. Destiny or something in the like his like a specific villain in the DC universe, and then Arkham Asylum was the place that he was held. So a lot of the stuff around John Dee specifically is like made different. And another character is, I think, Lyda is another character whose backstory is completely changed because her husband is like a superhero in the like DCU. And I've seen people like go completely apeshit about that and condemning the whole series as poorly written and bad because of these specific changes, or that the series doesn't really follow the 80s aesthetic. And I'm like,
well, it's not set in the 80s.
Yes, it's not set in the 80s, and also like I feel like I personally really dislike this whole idea that everything needs to be connected. I liked that Sandman was its own thing, and that it didn't try to tie itself into like the DC canon in any way, that it's just focusing on the Sandman characters. Because I
mean, as
I'm getting really tired.
Follow a long franchise for any considerable length of time. I want everything to be able, like, not everything, obviously. I need things to be able to stand alone for me to enjoy them, or I just won't watch them.
Yes. And especially now that I personally have become so completely and utterly tired of, like, for example, keeping up with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, there's only so much, like, that I can do as a viewer. So I'm like, I would much rather just, have original stories and then be like standalones than everything try to like follow a continuous narrative where everything is connected, because it's tiring. I just want this one thing to be one thing, please.
My yarn is tangled. So, but anyway, yes, I watched Sandman and it was good, and I want season 2 already. I want to see
Me
more of
too.
the Endless. That's what I really want, is more scenes of the Endless interacting with each other.
Yes, I can't wait for more like Destiny and I'm sorry, Desire, and especially I want to meet Destiny. I want to see who they cast as Destiny.
I was actually wondering, did Destiny not appear because of rights issues, or because they just hadn't, like, there was not a story with Destiny yet?
Destiny doesn't appear until volume 3, and this first season covers volumes 1 and 2.
Okay. Yeah. It's been a very, very long time since I read the comics.
Yeah, Destiny of the Endless is a different character from for example, Dr. Destiny.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like all of these characters with their same name.
And I realized that Desire only had like 2 major scenes in the entire show. It's like, well, we need more of them.
Like they made every every scene they were in. I was like, yes, please, please. Like they were in 3 scenes total. Like at the end of the, I think, diner episode, they make their first appearance, and then they were in the with Despair and in the final. So yeah, they make like 3 to 4 appearances total in the entire season, and they left a lasting mark. I love it. Also, yes, Corinthian was so good.
A very good character. They did kind of beef up that storyline a little bit with the Corinthian. So the Corinthian was in so many of the episodes, like the entire season, and I got a little bit tired of it.
I personally felt that the way they beefed him up, they really needed to do that in order to have a specifically a good climax for a season finale.
Yeah.
Because like if you do it the same way that he is in the comics, where he just sort of appears and it's like one-off thing, it's really not satisfying. I can understand that there were a couple of scenes where it wasn't necessary to have him. But at the same time, I just like the actor. Like,
yeah,
just feed me. I wish he would come back, because like he needs to come back. I watched the first episode of Rings of Power on Friday, and my feelings on it so far are that in terms of tone, it feels like a high budget Merlin. Like if anyone remembers Merlin the series,
it's not selling me, because I bailed on Merlin after 1 season.
I mean, it's just like basically just, you remember those hokey Saturday series that you would watch with the kind of poor effects and fantasy series with like all about friendship and like these things. Like it has that same hokey vibe, but it's like super high budget and takes itself very seriously, and that is sometimes unintentionally hilarious. I just sort of love it for that, because it's kind of like a new generation gets to enjoy that sort of hokey feel. It's not what
I want from the Lord of the Rings. It's not what I want from Middle Earth, though.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like approach it kind of as, I mean, it's also like because they couldn't get the rights to Silmarillion, they're basing the whole series on the appendix of Lord of the Rings. Like you basically have these situations where you have like literally 2 lines describing an event, so they have to beef it up somehow. It is
So
not
the-
an adaptation. It is
This-
basically original material taking inspiration from
exactly,
the
and
appendix.
that's why we'll never watch it.
Yeah, that's fine. But I personally feel that it's like its own thing.
Can
And
I watch
I
it
don't-
without having watched the Lord of the Rings movies?
Yes.
Who hasn't seen the Lord of the Rings movies?
That's
though?
not. I've only read the books.
No way.
I mean, it's not even related. It's
I
not
have
even
read the
related to
books.
the movie.
Okay, give me some credit.
I mean, Rings of Power is not related to the movies. There are some parallels between, like, but it's like it's set
Like
in a
I know what
completely like.
happens in the Lord of the Rings. Obviously, I read the frickin' trilogy
I
and
think
the
I
Hobbit.
think actually I personally think that having any knowledge of Lord of the Rings will be a hindrance to enjoying Rings of Power.
I don't know. I have someone in a Discord I'm in is a huge Tolkien fan and has really been enjoying Rings of Power and has like been enjoying kind of the Easter eggs they've been putting in and some of the ways that they've been adapting and so like I haven't watched it yet because I've been really bad at TV, but like going from what this person says, and they're like the person where if we see like fancy Tolkien stuff or Lord of the Rings stuff, we'll send to. Like she's just been really enjoying it.
I personally like I liked the first episode fine. It was very much like set up like you get this like million characters whose names you won't remember and whose connections to each other you won't figure out because it's just like I wish that it would introduce these characters in smaller clusters, like focus. Like I think actually Game of Thrones, which I am critical of in many ways, did it much better because they actually like introduced you to a small cluster of characters first and then slowly expanded. And this is just like giving you, okay, here are all of the characters.
This is,
which is
like the vibe that I get from the production and the marketing of the show is that they desperately want Middle Earth to be Game of Thronesified or something. Not like
no,
dark and gritty, but they want that like blockbuster sensation thing for streaming television or whatever, and
possibly, but the vibe is not at all the same.
or they
It's
want
definitely
a universe like Marvel.
It definitely feels more fairy tale-esque, more like an epic in veins of like Epic of Gilgamesh or like Kalevala or stuff like it leans more into like an epic fairy tale grandiose aesthetic more than grimdark.
Mm-hmm.
Which
maybe if Kelsey watches this and tells me that it's good, I would try it.
So watching it is completely hypothetical because I don't at present have Amazon Prime.
Me either.
My
neither.
dad does, so I could watch it when I'm visiting him.
Or you can just get your dad's login and put it into.
Yeah, I don't have Amazon Prime either, so I'm currently just borrowing my friend's password. Because
my parents have Amazon Prime and they are currently watching this show.
I've been assigned a task by the chat to watch Lord of the Rings, the movies.
I mean,
I have
that you've never seen
them all on DVD. I bought them all. I intended to watch them, and it just never happened.
I love the movies, but but what I love even more than the movies is the extended like documentaries surrounding the making of the movies. That has been like my go-to watch.
Twice.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
I've seen the behind-the-scenes stuff twice.
Yeah, I usually put them on just as a background noise while I'm making crafts.
Yeah.
Because it's inspiring. But I will say about Rings of Power, there's one specific thing that really irks the heck out of me and I can't forgive. And that is the hair. Why does every single elf in that series have Edward Cullen hair? Like the whole early 2000s heartthrob Edward Cullen, like pompadour short hair.
They don't have long hair?
Not a lot of them.
Well, you can't even call them elves then. I'm sorry. I come for the long-haired elves.
Yeah, you're not getting long elf hair.
Sorry.
Like
Legolas, Galadriel, and Arwen are seared in my brain. If you don't have hair like that, you're not an elf.
Galadriel and Gil-galad have long hair. But
Also,
a lot of
Figwit. Does anybody remember Figwit?
No.
Am I the only person who knows about this?
What?
During the Council of Elrond scene, right after Frodo declares that he will take the ring to Mordor, there's this like panning shot around everybody there.
Yeah.
Figwit stands for Frodo is great. Who is that? Because as it's panning around, there's this really hot elf. I think the actor who played this elf is actually like a famous Aussie musician or something. And they just brought him on the set one day and put a wig on him. And was like, you look like an elf. So it's just
is this the same character who they actually extended his appearance in the Hobbit movies then?
I don't know,
because like the
Maybe.
Brett who plays like the who is the other person from Flight of the Conchords was famously an extra.
Let's see if the internet can. Brett McKenzie of the musical duo Flight of the Conchords.
Yes, him.
Yes, they brought him back for a separate scene in the last movie because he's also the elf who comes up and he says something to Arwen in that scene.
Yes, my lady.
Yeah, anyway,
and also Glenn, he's in the Hobbit.
New Figwit. Please tell me I'm not the only one.
Yes, okay. He's also in the Hobbit. They specifically brought him back for a speaking named role.
I mean,
and he's not Figwit. He's was it Lindor or something? That
whatever. Who cares what his name is? He's always going to be Figwit.
Anyway,
my point is he has long hair and he's an elf.
Anyway, like the Edward Cullen hair wasn't as bad as the one elf who literally has like the shaved sides and the like. I just will call it the a certain German political party haircut, which it famously has been made popular by that era. You know, the shaved sides and the like floof down the middle. One elf has that haircut, and it made me so uncomfortable. I'm sorry, that haircut has forever been ruined, and if you are a white man, you just can't wear that haircut without making me feel terribly uncomfortable.
As for the second part of the question, I refuse to watch House of Dragons because I'm still mad at George R.R. Martin. Also, I read a summary of the book that it's based on, and like he literally took a historical event and added extra bitches be crazy. So I don't want to deal with that.
Wait, it's based on a book?
Yeah.
It's based on Fire and Blood, which is the collected Targaryen history of the like 300 years of Targaryen rule.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a secret that basically the whole dynastic history of the Targaryens is based on the various English and Welsh kings.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, Lannisters and Starks are stand-ins for Lancasters and Yorks.
Yeah, no, but the whole what the House of the Dragon is based on is Empress Matilda versus her cousin for ruler of England, and it like reading about the actual historical events versus like what was going on in his book, it really does feel like he added extra bitches be crazy, this is why you can't have a queen, and it's like
I don't think we need more of that. Yeah, that's not one I'm going to watch, but apparently all the news feeds want me to know every single thing about what happened in the latest House of Dragon episodes. So,
I mean,
nominated for all the dramatic presentation short work.
Maybe.
No, I didn't even think of that.
You know, we're going to see a Sandman episode or two.
We better.
I'm fine with Sandman. I'm fine with like Rings of Power, but I'm just like dreading the House of the Dragon stuff.
I just feel like we're getting so much good stuff this year. Like there was one series, like what series was it that came out this year? I mean, obviously there's the Miss Marvels and the She-Hulks and stuff, so it's like, it's a smorgasbord of good content that is like eligible next year?
So kind of like just really quickly going back to our discussion of like why did the Hugo Awards feel this way this year, and why didn't they feel that way at DisCon in 2021? Is I feel like this year's Hugo Awards was our first entry into stuff that was created or not created during the pandemic. Because what people were nominating for DisCon last year were 2020 publications that have been written and done and published in 2020, like before the pandemic started. And now we're getting into stuff that was conceived or finished during the huge slumpy part of the pandemic. And I think that like that combination, like during 2021, I started to feel like there just weren't a lot of things that I wanted to read, and it was either my mood or I felt like there wasn't that much selection or something. And I feel like this year has been a real uptick. There's been a shift in what's available, so could just be that.
No, I feel the same way, Rachel. Like last year I was reading like I'm still reading romance, but last year I was reading so much more romance because I needed that guaranteed happy ending.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Same.
I mean, I feel like this is finally the year, like 2022 has finally been the year where I have been able to read more like what I normally would have read that wasn't purely for escapism.
Mm-hmm.
My reading so far, I have already read both more books and more pages according to Goodreads than I read at all last year, full stop. And I've not even started really reading new releases yet. It's just like the Hugo reading went so much better for me this year than last year. Like reading things I did a bunch of reading things last minute to nominate for the Hugos, and they didn't necessarily make it onto the ballot, but like I read a bunch of really good stuff this year. And I'm really excited about that personally.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like the mood is a bit better.
I mean,
sorry.
Yeah, go on.
Di, you did not respond in the affirmative when I queried people about bracelets. Is there anything else you would prefer I make for you?
Here's the thing. I don't tend to really wear jewelry. Like I'll occasionally wear like hoop earrings, but it's really rare. It's just like, I don't like having extreme.
Would you like me to be creative and try to make something artistic that is not to be worn?
Sure.
I might have to like do some thinking and planning and make that a project for a next live stream.
Okay, yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, because I don't want to leave you out just because you don't want a bracelet.
Yeah, it's mostly I tend not to really wear jewelry all that much.
No, that's fine. That's totally fine. Creativity can occur.
All right.
I was thinking that there's at least 2 shows currently that are Korean dramas that would be eligible for Hugo Awards next year that I probably need.
Give recommendations.
There's Tomorrow, which is about this guy he falls into a coma and is recruited by the death agency to serve as a bureaucrat in the like sort of underworld, where the basically like the death as a concept is an organization of these various like departments that handle death and all aspects relating to death, and he has to like spend 3 years in a coma in order to be a part-timer in the underworld.
That's interesting.
It's actually really funny. I watched the first 2 episodes and I'm like,
ooh, it's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix, yeah.
What is the other one?
My brain just blanked completely. So I will need to go and watch my list. The Sound of Magic, but I haven't actually watched the I haven't started watching it, but based on the trailer, it sounds like it's SFF. But I need to first make
I
sure
saw
it
the
deals
trailer
with
for that one. That's on
yeah,
Netflix, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
All of the things are on Netflix.
All of the things that I've been saying.
What we should do next year, like our January Stitch and Bit, should be like stuff we want, like stuff we're planning on nominating. So like not necessarily putting together a slate.
We should just gush about what we love from the past year. That's what we
Yeah,
should do.
I feel like that could be fun, and maybe getting like a guest or two could be.
Yes, I vote yes.
Hi, Luke.
Put it in our notes to remind us of that. So we are almost exactly at 2 hours. So do we want to wrap up by talking quickly about stuff that's forthcoming we're looking forward to?
Sure.
I only have 2 things. I usually have a list, but I know that there are 2 October releases I'm really looking forward to, and that is Station Eternity by Mur Lafferty. I've been looking forward to her next SF work for so long. And then The Spare Man by Mary Robinette Kowal, which I have an arc of, so I can't wait to get to that.
I have also pre-ordered both of those. I'm really intrigued by the idea that they're both these, takes on science fiction mystery novels that are coming out like the same month from different authors. And
Yeah.
I kind of want to read them like back to back and do like a compare contrast or something.
So
Yeah.
I kind of wonder if there was just like a whole bunch of SFF authors who were binging murder mystery and crime TV shows during the pandemic, because it's definitely a
I
thing.
mean, must have.
I would not.
And Station Eternity, according to Goodreads, belongs to a series that is called the Mid-Solar Murders. And I have been watching the long-running murder mystery series Midsummer Murders for the last 2 years, and I was like, I know what you've been watching, Mur Lafferty.
I would not be surprised. Like, I follow Cameron Hurley on Twitter, and she like regularly will live tweet like the British murder shows she's watching, and I know she's friends with Mur Lafferty. Like, she goes on Ditch Diggers quite often. So I feel like that definitely is something.
I'm just a quick answer to Rebecca. Alchemy of Souls is something that I am really interested in. However, the whole premise of like a sorcerer basically possessing a blind woman and then not being blind doesn't sit well with me. So I'm scared to try it, but I am interested in it because it's also a period drama. But the general concept just sounds a little like a sort of like what's the word? Like a superpowered disabled person, which I'm usually not a fan of that trope. Like, or rather, it can be very tricky to pull off where it's not disrespectful.
Yeah, I think for me, what I'm looking forward to in October, the main one is Into the Riverlands. So that's the new Nevo novella that's set in like the Singing Hills cycle.
I'm also looking forward to that.
Yeah, and then one that literally just came out that I haven't started yet, that I've heard really good things about, is The Sunbear Trials by Aiden Thomas. It's his new YA fantasy. The cover is like, I love all the gold foil on the cover. It makes it very shiny. But it's set in like a Mesoamerican fantasy world and queer normative. Yeah, and it sounds really good. And I loved Cemetery Boys, and I've heard this one is also very good. So looking forward
Tell me
to
what you think about it, because I mean, I want to read it eventually, but I want to know if it's something that I need to like hustle up and immediately put in the library queue, or can it wait?
Yeah, I will say if there is like a new release-a-thon 1.5, I will try and prioritize it for that, or I might try and read it for Latinx book bingo. I haven't decided.
Anything else that people are looking forward to?
Let me check, because I did not come fully prepared for this
Me
question.
neither.
Even though, like,
Yeah, me either.
I knew I could have seen it coming.
It can also be like stuff that's released recently, I would say.
Mhm. Yeah.
I mean, I'm like Nevo's new release for the Singing Hills cycle is what I'm like mostly interested in, and also like I want to pick up the Jasmine Throne because Oleander Sword came out. Like I have two things. I have like I really want to read Jasmine Throne so I can pick up Oleander Sword, but Speaking Bones by Ken Liu also came out, and it's a series finisher, and I just got the Veiled Throne, so I kind of also want to like start reading that. But it's a chunker. It's like 800 pages of tiny, tiny, tiny text.
So I think Sea Sparrow is coming out in October. Is that correct?
I feel like that's November.
November. Oh, November. Well, it might have different release dates for different editions because Goodreads is showing.
Okay, they might have moved the release date up. No, mine is showing.
Goodreads is probably wrong here. It's probably November.
Yeah, mine's showing expected publication November 1st.
Okay. Let's see what else. What else is October? I think we've maybe already touched on all of my anticipated October releases mostly.
I think a lot of stuff is coming out in October this year. And December is usually like this dead month for publishing. So.
Yeah, I don't think I got anything else. I will say though, in terms of releases from the last few months, there are so many of them that I want to read that it's overwhelming.
Yep. Alrighty. Well, let's wrap up and everyone can say, what's next for them and their channel or platform and where to find you. So I'll go first. As usual, you can find me on my channel, Colonati. I'm not super active anywhere else right now. And I should be getting back into some wrap-ups and finally doing another craft video, which has taken me literally 8 weeks to film, but it's coming.
So I will go next. I am hoping to film a wrap-up video for my channel before I leave town. It will be a discussion of this year's Hugo Novella nominees. That's the video that I'm planning on filming next. I read, I think all of them except the Shannon Maguire. Is that right? Is there another one that I didn't read? I read most of the novellas this year. And I have thoughts. So,
cool.
Thoughts.
You can find me at Bookish Die. I have my August wrap-up film, but I still need to edit it, but that should be going up at some point this week.
You can find me at The Bookfinch on Twitter and YouTube. And I should hopefully, fingers crossed, if I find the energy to film this week or the upcoming week, I should have my WorldCon retrospective and video about convention volunteering experience going up, hopefully. But unfortunately, I am also starting work again tomorrow after vacation, so I'm also expecting to feel completely exhausted and knackered. So we shall see, fingers crossed. And in the next 2 weeks, I should be hosting a live show for the September Shorts and Sorcery book club pick, which was Future Science Fiction Digest issue 15.
Cool. And everybody should check out Kelsey's TikTok as well, because She does good stuff, and she did some TikToks about WorldCon. So if you wanted to see
Yes.
that,
We should link Kelsey's TikTok as well in the.
I should do that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I needed to get the link. I don't actually have TikTok, so I don't know how to get the link. Can I just get it in a web browser? Send it to me, Kelsey.
You can. I think you can get it on a browser as well.
Okay. I'm so out of touch. Alrighty. I think that's it. That is our show, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and thank you to everybody who joined us in chat. And we will see you again next month. And
On my channel.
And next month we will be on Reija's channel.
Expect Halloweeny things.
Yes.
Another Stitch and Witch.
Yes. Yes. And we do actually have a bit of a schedule for the rest of the year. If you're curious where the live show will be next, there is something in the description that actually lists them now. So I was prepared.
Maybe by next month I might have a new cat to show. We'll see. My schedule right now is that I am going to be out of town here in the second half of September, but then I'm planning on being back early October. I haven't booked my return flight yet because I don't know how long I'm staying, but then like as soon as I get back, first thing up will be cat adopting.
Very cool. We look forward to it.
I am looking forward to all the documentation of your cat adoption journey.
Yes.
I will be having a cat adoption journey. I'm not sure where the cat adoption will be coming from. There are lots of different rescues that I've been looking into, so.
Maybe in a couple of months, Hermes will also be settled in enough that he will make appearances on camera, but he has always been slightly more skittish than any of the other cats.
Yeah. Yep. Well, we have cats to look forward to. We have hats to look forward to as well, now that Kelsey is with us.
True.
And with that, we will see you again in October. So, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.